Hello everyone, Sega Toxica? We're back with another Mobile Legends video, and this time we're on the advanced server. Because like every week we have a new patch and therefore new hero balancing. So before we start, just let me remind you about the sponsor of this video. Haven't you tried Winster yet to top up diamonds in Mobile Legends? What are you waiting for? Right now it's the best platform for diamond top-ups. Because not only will you top up at the best price, but with every top-up, you'll also get Winst credits that you can use for future top-ups. You'll also get to participate in the prize wheel where you can win prizes, including more diamonds. Another benefit this platform offers is that it has many payment methods depending on your country. So you'll surely find a payment method that works for you and is more convenient for you also. Topping up is very easy and fast. You just have to enter your account details, select the amount you want to top up, choose the payment method that suits you best, and that's it. The top-up arrives almost instantly. And if you have any questions, it also has a built-in chat where you can talk directly with someone from customer service. So if you want to try it, I recommend it 100%. And you'll find the link in the description and pinned comment of this video. And we start with Dyros. To make sure Dyros keeps being impactful in teamfights in the mid and late game, we have balanced his scaling curve, so now in his passive, the damage per circle attack went from 160% total physical attack to 150% up to 180% total physical attack. It scales with level. Also, the regeneration effect changed from 20% plus 8% of his max HP to 7% up to 10% of his max HP. And this also scales with level, which this time is a buff for Dairos. Now let's continue with Irithel, and as you can see, her visual rework has finally arrived. The developers leave us the following message. We have optimized the artistic quality of Irithel, and the animations and visual effects for her related skins are being optimized as well. They will not be available for seasons. Last week, we reduced Irithel's durability in the late game due to her high mobility as a marksman in the late game. This week, we are compensating her with higher damage in the late game. So here are her attributes. Attack growth increased from 8.5 to 10. Well, good news then for Irithel, because not only has she received her visual rework, which looks pretty good, she looks really good. I like this rework. But they've also increased her damage a bit when it comes to physical attack growth. Now let's continue with Beatrix. So were her stats slightly increased? The base HP went from 2,320 to 2,380. Her base physical defense also went from 17 to 18. And her base physical attack went from 110 to 115. Buff, this time for Beatrix as well. We continue with Sora. Although he was slightly weakened during the laning phase, Sora gains extremely strong solo kill potential once he reaches level 4. Even without using his Thunder attack, we have his Wind Stride skill in Thunder Charge. That would be when he uses his ultimate, the second skill when he uses the ultimate in Thunder State. That's what it says. The base damage per hit went from 140 up to 200 plus 55% of total physical attack to 120 up to 180 plus 45% of total physical attack. Also, the additional damage went from 140 up to 200 plus 8% of total HP to 120 up to 180 plus 6% of total HP. And for his ultimate, the cooldown, also in Thunder State, went from 24 seconds down to 16 seconds to 32 seconds down to 24 seconds. Well, a total nerf this time for Sora. I think he really needed this nerf, and it was expected. Because, honestly, Sora was really OP. Honestly, there comes a point where he gets kills really easily, and he's also very hard to kill. So I was definitely expecting this nerf. Now let's move on to the new heroine, the new assassin Hirara. This time, the handling of each ability was improved, and the hero's damage potential on his first ability was reduced. We have that the range went from 3.5 to 4, and the fan-shaped angle went from 100 degrees to 75 degrees. On the other hand, the base damage went from 250 up to 400 to 225 up to 360. Then, in his second skill, the casting has been optimized. When you press the skill button, it projects in the direction of the joystick. It's no longer necessary to drag the skill button to aim. Well, that's a good change. I think so too. The distance of a single dash went from 3 to 3.5. Then the splash speed went from 10 to 11. And the base damage went from 250 to 400 down to 225 to 360. Then we move on to his first merged ability, and his second ability would be when we drag the first into the second, meaning that merged ability. We have that the board distance went from 2.5 to 3. The wind-up and the recovery time was also slightly reduced, and the base damage went from 375 to 600 down to 340 to 540. And now, shall we move on to the Infernal Torrent? Skill 2 merged into Skill 1. The base damage went from 375 to 600 down to 340 to 540, and the dash damage went from 250 to 400 down to 225 to 360. And what about his ultimate? The movement speed boost went from 80% of the movement speed boost that decays over 1 second to 120% of the movement speed boost that decays after 1.5 seconds, over 1.5 seconds. Well, in this case, we have a nerf for Hirara, who apparently was very OP when Hirara arrives on the official server. And, well, she would only arrive in Season 41, according to what they've been doing. Montoon always releases a new hero at the beginning of each season. So Hirara will continue to get changes and will only arrive in Season 41. Now let's continue with Cloud. Cloud's explosion damage at level 4 was way too high compared to other marksman heroes. As a result, we've adjusted his damage potential, so his base damage went from 140 to 190 down to 130 to 190. Well, it's a nerf for Cloud, although I think it's a very small nerf. Honestly, I don't think he needs a nerf. I don't think he's that OP, but even so, this nerf is very, very small, so I don't think it'll be noticeable. Now let's move on to Harith. The previous adjustments to Harith on the advanced server have been reverted. We'll slightly adjust his power curve while keeping his strong early to mid-game performance, and we'll also make him playable as a jungler. Watch out for that. This is interesting then. For Harith, it also says the following are the changes made based on the official server, and here are the changes to his stats. The base HP went from 2,280 to 2,260, and the HP growth went from 155 to 160. The base physical defense went from 19 to 17, and the physical defense growth went from 4 to 4.5. Then, in his first skill, the base damage went from 165 up to 290 to 150 up to 300. The explosion damage went from 495 up to 870 to 450 up to 900. And we also have a new effect. This skill deals 60% extra damage to creeps and monsters. Then, in his second skill, we have the damage. The magic power bonus, the enhanced basic attack went from 60 to 70%.
Y en su ultimate tenemos
The slow effect changed from 50% initial slow and 15% continuous slow to 40% continuous slow. Well, very interesting. So, this change to Harith, honestly, I think it's pretty OP. And it caught my attention that now Montoon wants to bring Harith back. A jungle hero? So tell me, what do you guys think about it? Let's go now. With the revamp of Aulus, the strength of his ultimate was slightly reduced. The base damage of the first 4 attacks went from 200 to 360 plus 80% of total physical attack to 150 to 270 plus 60% of total physical attack. Also, the base damage of the last bar went from 400 up to 720, plus 160% of total physical attack to 450 up to 810 plus 180% of total physical attack. Also, the damage reduction went from 40% at all levels to 20 up to 40%. Well, are the changes for Aulus's rival coming next? And well, folks, that's it for now with this hero balancing. The last released patch notes from the advanced server for those asking when these adjustments will arrive on the official server. Well, there's no confirmed date. It could arrive as soon as next week, or it could take up to a month. That's why you always have to stay tuned to the videos I upload about the advanced server patches, because things you saw in this patch, they might roll it back next week. So that's it for now. If you like the video, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, I'll read your comments, and see you next time. Bye.